Whether you're in a relationship with someone who has avoidant attachment style, or you have a friend who has avoidant attachment and you'd like to communicate better with them, chances are you've wondered if there was a better way to say something or just a better way to communicate in a way that didn't activate the other person's withdrawal behavior. Sometimes you might want to support your avoidant partner in a way that feels good to them or to both of you, and maybe you're trying to determine how exactly to connect to them without activating those withdrawal strategies. For example, by asking for more time commitment than what they're comfortable giving. Some people are thinking they don't want to be the ones doing all of the work in the relationship. And if that's true for you, only you can determine what your boundaries are as far as what you desire in a relationship and what you are willing to tolerate. However, if you are dedicated to being in a relationship with someone with avoidant attachment, this video will give you some strategies on how to communicate with them in a way that doesn't activate those withdrawal strategies so much, and it will be easier for both of you to communicate because they won't be activating as frequently. I'm Kaylee Larkin. I'm an attachment coach, and I help people with insecure attachment style to feel more calm, security, and love in their relationships. If you would like more resources, you can find those at kayleelarkin.com, where there's an attachment relationship blog and courses and audios that you can download. So the first strategy to communicating with an avoidant partner is to give them options. And if you're not sure, give them choices. So, for example, don't make assumptions about whether the two of you are going to have a nice dinner together and on what date or what you're going to do together, or base it totally on your preferences. Unless you know them very well, this can backfire. Some people with avoidant attachment have a wound around not feeling seen and not feeling understood. And if you make assumptions about what they want or what they're willing to do or what they're available for, it can trigger that core wound. So even though your intentions might be good, say inviting them out to a reservation at a new restaurant or surprising them with this reservation at a new restaurant, it would be best to check with them beforehand to make sure that this is something that they actually want and that they're available for. So be flexible on timing and understand that they have different priorities than you do. Another strategy is to ask in advance. If you have a problem or an issue that involves them, check with them around timing, around consent for having that conversation with you before you're launching into it. So, for example, you might say, I'm having some feelings about our finances or our financial situation. Can you take half an hour about it? Can you take half an hour to chat with me about it? Or you might be sensitive to their schedule. Can you let me know when would be a good time to sit down and talk about it? Also, be prepared to hear a no sometimes. Just because we phrase things in a nice way doesn't mean that the other person necessarily will agree to it, will agree to our request. So the ability to hear no is what makes that a request and not a demand. So just understand that sometimes you'll hear a no and to be okay with that. An avoidant attachment wound is being criticized, being judged, or being misunderstood. So asking in advance of a difficult conversation is a really good practice in general, but especially when communicating with someone who has avoidant attachment. Be sure to check if this is a good time to have a conversation. Is there not a good time to have a difficult conversation? Yes, especially when we are hungry or we are tired, or we just had a really long day. Those are all not great times for people to have difficult conversations or more challenging conversations when people are less resourced than usual. The same is true if your avoidant partner has a problem and you want to offer them some advice. Unwanted advice can come across as criticism, again, activating the old core wound. So you might ask something like, would you like to hear my thoughts on the situation? And that gives them room to say yes or no. Similarly, it can be jarring for someone to go from being alone to being in connection. When people have avoidant attachment, that transition can be difficult. And so just giving them a little bit of a heads up, saying something like, Can you be ready in half an hour so we can spend some time together? Avoid passive aggressive language. Folks with avoidant attachment don't like reading between the lines and guessing at what someone means. And so if they view your request as passive aggressive, or maybe they think that there's anger underneath that, since passive aggressive behavior often masks anger, again, they can view that as a criticism and think that you are blaming them. Saying, I'm not mad, with a mad tone of voice, or saying, I thought you knew, in an angry voice, after withholding some information, all of those will push these buttons and make them feel criticized, or they will feel criticized. Use I statements and avoid blame. When you're expressing your feelings and needs, don't say, you made me feel X. Instead, say, I felt X when I noticed Y. Compassionate communication, also called NVC or nonviolent communication, uses the format observation, feeling, need, request. And this format is really great because it doesn't trigger other people's defensiveness so much. Remember that the avoidant wound is being criticized, and so this format doesn't activate that wound so much. One topic at a time. Remember to stick to one topic at a time for conversations. Sometimes when we have a lot to say, we might want to throw in a lot of different things, cover a lot of different topics, and they may seem to be interconnected and related. It might be tempting to dredge up an argument from last month if it feels relevant and you're upset. Don't do it. Just stick to one topic at a time. It's easier to solve one problem at a time. Keep it safe. One of the ways that couples cultivate safety in communication and they get through difficult conversations is to maintain this feeling of safety throughout the conversation. You can contribute to a feeling of safety by being attuned, noticing your body language, using safe and open body language or a neutral or positive tone of voice, and choosing your words with care. So avoiding demands, avoiding passive aggressive behavior, generalizations, assumptions, defensiveness, words like you always, generalizations. So keeping it safe throughout the conversation. Be attuned. Be attuned to your partner's tone of voice and body language throughout the conversation. If you can tell that they're starting to have more sympathetic nervous system activation, meaning they're starting to get stressed out, then you might suggest taking a break. Should we pause for 15 minutes and then come back to this? Or should we take a break from talking about this now and come back to it later, where it's like that? Use safe body language. Communication is not just verbal. We also communicate in ways with our body. We can communicate ways that we are stressed out with body language and tone of voice as well. Use safe and warm body language when appropriate. You can put a hand on their arm or use gentle eye contact, a touch on the arm or a hug if you know that your partner will welcome this. Anything you can do to communicate safety will calm their anxiety and will also calm your own because of mirror neurons. And even though avoidant attachment style, those folks don't get the label as being anxious, there is anxiety there. It's just a little bit more hidden than in, say, the anxious attachment style. Also face them so that you can see their whole person and that you're not guessing. When people try to have fights or conversations, difficult conversations when driving, they can make a lot of errors because we can't see the other person when we're driving well. We're really focused on what's ahead of us. And so if you're driving, table that conversation for later, but do pick a time when the two of you can come back to it. The reason we want to face someone is just to make sure that we are more accurate when we're attuned to them and when we're reading them. We don't make so many mistakes in understanding what people mean. Keep in mind that if you're dating someone with avoidant attachment and they're not spending a lot of time with you, they're not inviting you into their private home space, they're not telling friends and family about you, and they avoid traveling with you, they may be having doubts about whether that relationship is right for them, or they may not feel confident about entering into a relationship. There are so many times when someone complains that their last partner was emotionally unavailable, But then they discover that person just entered into a relationship and they're giving the new person all the time and commitment that they themselves had wanted. So remember to ask yourself what your own relational needs and desires are so that you're not just basing it on what they want and basing your life around theirs. I'd love to hear from you. What are some ways that you communicate with your partner that work for both of you? And if you have avoidant attachment, what are some ways that you like to be communicated with? I'm Kaylee Larkin at kayleelarkin.com and wishing you a beautiful relational journey. If you got something out of watching this, please hit the like button and subscribe button to get more useful content. Your support helps me reach more people. And if you know someone who would like this message, you can also click share to let them know. This is Kaylee Larkin, wishing you a beautiful relational journey.